stares at the soldiers.
Father! Father! Forgive them. For they know not what they do.
The captain looks on. Shifting uncomfortably, one of the soldiers averts his eyes. Mary closes her eyes, her cheeks glistening with tears. Shivering, Jesus shifts his anguished gaze. A view from across the city reveals the trio of crucified men on the hilltop. Later, a few soldiers roll small square-shaped stones like dice onto a laid-out fabric. One of them looks up at Jesus. The crucified man to the prophet's right calls out,
Aren't you the Messiah? Why don't you save yourself and us? Our punishment is just, but this man has done nothing wrong.
Jesus notices the man on his left.
Remember me when you come into your kingdom. Truly I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise.
The crucified man meets his gaze. Jesus turns his attention to his supporters.
Mother, this is your son. John, this is your mother.
Mary rests her head on John's shoulder. Jesus looks up to the heavens.
My God. My God. Why have you forsaken me?
With his head down, Jesus shakes uncontrollably.
I thirst.
A tall soldier grabs a spear from a comrade, then reaches into a bucket and takes out a sponge. He squeezes the watery sponge, then attaches it to the tip of the spear. Approaching the cross, he raises the sponge to the prophet's lips for a short drink. In fast motion, ominous storm clouds move across the sky. Still trembling, with his mouth hanging open, Jesus continues to endure the crucifixion. In the sky above, two massive storm clouds gradually come together to hide the sun. Now, Caiaphas leads two lines of elders into the holy temple. The high priest stands before an altar. In the darkened room of the Last Supper, Peter sits alone on the floor, weeping. The heartbroken disciple buries his face in his hands. On the cross, still trembling, Jesus hangs his head. Now, with a group of elders, Nicodemus descends the temple steps. He notices the storm clouds racing across the sky above. Peering across the city, he watches the clouds surge toward the site of the crucifixion. On the cross, as his disheveled hair blows with the wind, Jesus slowly lifts his head to glimpse the coming storm. In the room of the Last Supper, Peter looks up to find shafts of light pouring in through an open window. With his eyelids flickering, Jesus gazes outward.
It's finished.
In the temple, Caiaphas looks over to find a burning candle shaken by a strong gust of wind. In fast motion, a storm cloud blots out the sun. In tears, Mary Magdalene looks to the darkening sky. As Jesus looks across the sky, his mother watches him with an expression of calm. The prophet shifts his awestruck gaze, the corners of his open mouth almost forming a smile. In In the holy temple, candles jostle violently. Caiaphas and the elders back away from the altar. Jesus sheds a single tear, which runs down his grimy cheek.
Father,
He gazes heavenward.
into your hands I commend my spirit.
Huddled together, his mother, John, and Mary Magdalene watch as Jesus slumps forward. In the holy temple, the candles crash to the floor. Dust rains down on Caiaphas and the elders. An altar curtain falls. In the governor's residence, Pilate holds his terrified wife as the building shakes around them. Fleeing down the temple steps, Nicodemus loses his footing. He looks across the city to the crucifixion site, then hurries off. At the bottom of the steps, a crowd panics. In the room of the Last Supper, Peter watches dust fall to the floor. He shuts his eyes and hangs his head. At the sight of the crucifixion, the storm clouds give way to sunshine. A vigorous wind rushes over a lifeless Jesus. Mary Magdalene, John, and Mary, Jesus' mother, all sob as they